important program that was implemented over a decade ago. Next week is its anniversary, and we're here with several DACA recipients from different states. Just as the Republican majority passed an additional $70 billion for ICE, unconscionable amount of money. And so we're here today joined by the leadership of the House. We're here joined by, of course, our leader, Leader Jeffries. We're also joined by Whip Clark. We're joined by Pete Aguilar, Sylvia Garcia, who's here with us today as well as I said, these young people that are emblematic of America. If it wasn't for a green card, they will be just as American as everybody. They are Americans. They're nurses and teachers and homeowners and small business owners and people that work for the best interests of our nation. We have also some of the advocates, and we're here to say that this program, the DACA program, must be extended. The delays are horrible. They're basically sitting in limbo. And as I said before, over a decade ago, President Obama implemented this important initiatives. Many of these young people came here at a very, very early age. Some of them don't have really any connections with the country of origin. Their parents are here, their families are here in America, and they are contributors to the well-being of our nation. So with that, we have, let me say their names. It's important that we mention them. We have Oxel Orellana, arrived from El Salvador as a child, DACA recipient. DACA allowed him to become the first in his family to attend college. He's now a computer engineering student in the University of the District of Columbia, specializing in AI and robotics, and works as a junior code limbic system. We have Jamie Rangel, was brought to the United States from Mexico as an infant, grew up in Northwest Georgia, and became a DACA recipient in 2012. Today, he is the Regional Government Relations Director for Fora US, one of Georgia's 50 most influential Latinos. We have Angel Morales, came to this country from Mexico at 4 years old, grew up in Queens, and spent 12 years as a public school physical education teacher in Brooklyn, opening the same door that sports once opened for him. His DACA expired on May 10th, 2026, and he is on a leave of absence. When he was pulled from the classroom, his students lost more than a teacher. We have Elsa Sanchez, of course, has lived in Atlanta since she was 4 years old. She's renewed her DACA. She renewed her DACA 4 months ago, did everything right, and still waited 60 days without pay. And we have Eunice Miranda, came to the country from Mexico as well at the age of 3, has spent her entire life in the Northwest Georgia mountains. These are the DACA recipients that are with us today, and we're blessed to have them here. We will continue to support them. We will continue to push for this common sense measure. It polls extremely, Americans understand that they are the face of the future of our nation. With that, I give you our leader, someone that has been supportive of the DACA program, Leader Hakeem Jeffries.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Adriano, for your friendship, for your partnership, for your leadership, for bringing us all together in support of these incredible DACA recipients who are here with us, and in support of the DACA program here in the United States of America. I want to thank all of my colleagues in government, of course, with Catherine Clark, my good friend, Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia, who's been a leader and a champion on this issue, and of course, Adelita Grijalva, one of our newest members who's off to a phenomenal start, and so appreciative for her presence and her forceful leadership. Donald Trump promised that his immigration enforcement efforts were going to target the worst of the worst and violent felons. That's not what's happened. Donald Trump's mass deportation machine has targeted children, law-abiding immigrant families, mothers, fathers, grandfathers, grandmothers, husbands, wives, dreamers, and DACA recipients in a manner that's entirely inconsistent with America's status as a nation of immigrants, which is one of the most important ingredients of American exceptionalism and our success. DACA recipients and dreamers are as American as motherhood, baseball, and apple pie. They are incredibly hardworking, patriotic members of their community who have contributed in so many different ways. And it's imperative that the DACA program be continued and supported and embraced because it's good for America, which is why the American people support our dreamers and support DACA recipients and support an extension of this program. Here in America, year after year, decade after decade, century after century, people have come from all over the world to contribute to who we are as a nation, now approaching our 250th birthday. That's what DACA recipients represent. That's what the young people behind me represent, the best of America. Law-abiding immigrants who were brought here as children, who don't know the country from which they were originally born, because they are part of the fabric of this country here in America. And we will continue to support them today, tomorrow, always, and forever. And when we take back control of the House of Representatives, one of our priorities will continue to be, under the leadership of Chairman Adriano Espaillat and Representative Sylvia Garcia, passing into law the Dream and Promise Act. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jeffries. Just several facts before we go on to our next speaker. Between January and November 2025, ICE arrested 261 DACA recipients and deported 86. These are people with active legal protections. In addition to that, to the DACA recipients live in every state of our union. California has over 147,000 of them. Texas, 87,000 of them. Illinois, over 27,000. New York, over 20,000. Florida, over 20,000. But every state in the nation is feeling the pain of rising prices. That's happening because of the president's policies, including attacking DACA. Let me introduce you to our whip, Catherine Clark.
Thank you so much. Good morning. Thank you, Chairman Espaillat. We're grateful to you for bringing us together, to Leader Jeffries, to my friend and Chief Deputy Whip, Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia, to our incredible special guests and the entire CHC, for leading a fight that at its core is about human dignity. This is about the right of all people to a sense of safety, the right to a sense of security, the right to be treated fairly and with respect. It is also about common sense. DACA was a triumph of common sense. Dreamers are Americans, full stop. And that paperwork should reflect that truth. As President Obama put it, DACA was an example of how we can be a nation of immigrants and a nation of laws. That is where the American people are. That is where they believe we should be in Congress and extend DACA program. We were told, as the leader said, that Trump would go after the worst of the worst. Instead, we see a deportation machine. We see law-abiding families that are terrorized. We see people intimidated, beaten up, disappeared, even murdered in American streets. The people I represent, like millions of people across this country, are disgusted that this is being done in their name. It has to come to an end, and it will come to an end, thanks to the leadership of CHC. We are going to keep moving forward to an immigration system that is fair, just, and emblematic of the values that we all hold dear as Americans. This fight continues, and I am so proud to be a partner with you and to stand with all of our dreamers. Thank you.
We've been joined by Congresswoman Ananilia Mejia from the state of New Jersey. Welcome her. We know very well that Texas Governor Greg Abbott began to send immigrants in buses across the country to states like New York and Illinois and others. We know the names of the folks that make up the deportation machine. Bobino, Christine Nome. We know who they are. They're enablers. We know who they are. We know their first names and their last names. Ending DACA would cost the country an estimated $460 billion, roughly the annual GDP for the state of Illinois. With that, let me introduce you to someone that has been in the forefront in the state of Texas, pushing back against Greg Abbott and the deportation machine, Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia.
Granting to our leaders who are here and have to excuse themselves. I know they have a meeting this morning and we all have another meeting at 9. And to my colleagues who are here to join us, we are here to celebrate the 14 years of DACA. 14 years, it's almost a quinceañera time. And you know what DACA did for so many, it just kind of gave them a chance to just breathe, right? Because deferred action, the first letters of DACA, D-A, means deferred action. That simply says you deferred action and you don't deport someone. That was the intent of the law from the very beginning. It gave dreamers a chance to work, study, and build a life. Many of them, of course, has been stated, have never even known their own country. But DACA was never the finish line. It was meant to be a beginning. It was a temporary protection. It was deferred action. A promise this country made, but quite frankly, has never finished. And for 14 years, dreamers have been forced to live one renewal at a time. Most people do not wake up wondering if they'll be allowed to work tomorrow. Most people do not go to bed wondering if they will be able to legally drive their child to school the next morning. But that is the reality dreamers are living with. And now President Trump is making that uncertainty even more unbearable, even more chaotic, and in some cases, cruel. His administration is detaining and deporting dreamers. You heard the numbers earlier. It is trying to suffocate DACA, one delay after another. It's slow walking renewals. Slow walks them so that it expires, because then they think that they can go and detain the person. It is creating gaps that are costing dreamers their jobs, their driver's licenses, health insurance, and protection from deportation. It is inhumane and it's contrary to law. We cannot forget who dreamers are. It is worth repeating. They were brought here as children. They had no choice. They grew up here. They built their lives here. They belong here. That is why I'm leading the American Dream and Promise Act. This bill would give dreamers permanent protections and a real pathway forward. It would replace fear with stability. The House needs to vote on this bill. Every member should answer a simple question. Do you stand with dreamers? Because America does. Polls are as high as 80% of Americans show they support dreamers. Americans love dreamers, and dreamers love America. So I ask you, will you stand, members of Congress, while Trump tries to deport people who have grown up in our very own communities? 14 years, quite frankly, is too long. They've been living in legal jumbo for some time. We must pass the DREAM Act to give them permanent protections. We must protect our dreamers, and let's make sure that our country keeps the promise that we have made. Thank you, now yield back.
Thank you, Sylvia. Justice delayed is justice denied, and it's been 14 years. So we will continue to speak out on this until we get it done. Let me introduce from the daughter of a great member of Congress, and she's now following in those footsteps, Adalita Grijalva.
Buenos dias, good morning. You know, there are 19,000 Arizonans who are DACA recipients, 19,000. And so we're thinking about every day, we have people in our communities being taken out of their homes, having to make decisions about whether they can drive their kids to school, whether they can go to the grocery store, whether they can have a job. These are people in our community, they're part of our community. They are our teachers, they are our nurses, they are the people that are running our nonprofit organizations. They are running their own businesses. So they're part of us, and we need to protect them. You know, we stand with soñadores, we stand with dreamers, and that's why we're all here today. I'm glad to be able to stand in solidarity, and we'll continue to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Adelita. Okay, and now let's introduce Oxel Orellano. Oxel, please come forward.
I want to thank you all for inviting me to come. I want to start off by introducing myself. My name is Axel. I am a college student, senior studying computer engineering here and AI robotics at a local college here in the DMV. 13 years ago when I first got my DACA, I remember feeling the hope that comes with being the first in my family to have access to opportunities that some of my loved ones will never be able to achieve. For most of my life, DACA has given me protection. It's given me a safety net to go to college and begin building my career. In many ways, the community I've been surrounded because of DACA has allowed me to find my voice. It's what has empowered me to be here today in front of all of you and use my voice to push for change. The truth is, I have always felt, in a way, American, but with the exception on paper. I came to the US when I was just 2 years old, so I don't know where my home country is. Well, I don't remember the motherland. But recently, like many immigrants facing attacks against the temporary programs they're part of, whether it be DACA, TPS, or humanitarian parole, I've had to grapple with the very real possibility of being detained or deported. The reality of DACA temporariness can no longer be ignored. At this moment, we are witnessing the rise of delegalization. Hundreds of DACA recipients have been detained and deported despite their active status. Jean Carlos Fiallos, a father of two, a husband and a DACA recipient, just passed 1 full year in detention. The ongoing and deliberate delays of renewal applications are pushing DACA recipients out of status altogether. And just last week, the Senate blocked 2 amendments that would have addressed these very threats head on. Today, the greatest threat facing DACA recipients and immigrants, youth like me, is not limited to the DACA program on its own, but to whether Congress will finally take the action needed to confront the combination of legal challenges, administrative decisions, and bureaucratic delays, and steadily eroding temporary protections that millions of working people rely on. Delivering a pathway to citizenship is the only solution, and it's about ensuring the stability of working people, our families, entire workforces, and our nation's economy at large. That is what the anniversary of DACA is about. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And now let's welcome Jaime Rangel.
Morning. Morning, y'all. Thank you, Leader Jeffries, Whip Clark, Chair Espaillat, and Congresswoman Garcia for your continued fight for dreamers like me, and your commitment to making permanent protections a reality. My name is Jaime Rangel. I am the Regional Government Relations Director here at Forward.us, and I've been a DACA recipient for almost 14 years, y'all. I came to this country from Mexico as a toddler. I grew up in the Northwest Georgia mountains. In fact, the first steps that I took as a toddler were on American soil. Georgia has been my home for as long as I can remember, which is probably why I don't sound like a lot of the dreamers you have ever met before. But despite being a Georgia Bulldog at heart, I was blocked from fully contributing to the community and country that I've always been proud to call home. 14 years ago, DACA changed my life and the life of hundreds of thousands of dreamers across the country. It didn't just unlock my ability to work here legally. It removed the barriers that kept me from fully contributing to the place I've always been proud to call home. And in those 14 years, dreamers have done exactly that. We've become nurses, teachers, small business owners, and taxpayers. We started families, bought homes, and embodied ourselves in our communities. I myself have a U.S. citizen child that's 6 years old. As DACA recipients were registered with the government, passed background checks, paid our fees, and renewed year after year, by every metric, this program has been an overwhelming success. But right now, the program is under serious threat, and the people it protects are living with real fear. Renewals are being delayed and denied. DACA recipients are being detained. People who did everything right are being deported to countries they have no memory of. And decisions from the Board of Immigration Appeals have made it clear that DACA status alone may no longer be enough to protect someone from removal. We've heard these stories. Juan Chavez Velasco, a medical laboratory scientist from the Rio Grande Valley area, has been in this country for more than 25 years. He has DACA, he has a work permit, yet he was stopped by ICE while driving to deliver milk to his premature daughter in the NICU. He told agents that he was a DACA holder, but they detained him for 3 months anyway, while his daughter was in the hospital and his wife was home alone with their other children. He's been released, thanks to the Lord, but he is not free. He is still at risk of deportation. That is what this administration's actions look like in practice. No one should have to live like that, especially in this country. The recent reconciliation bill that passed will send tens of billions of dollars to ICE and Border Patrol, pouring more money into an enforcement machine that is already being used to detain and deport people like Juan. People who did everything right and how they did right. ICE has arrested more than 260 DACA recipients in 2025 and deported at least 86 of them. Those are not just statistics. Those are real people, just like me and you, who woke up every morning, went to work to bring the daily bread, dropped their kids at school, and they didn't come home. That's what this bill funds. So we're calling on the administration to stop attacking dreamers. Renewals must be processed on time. DACA recipients must not be detained. They should not be deported. And we're calling on Congress to act. Not a temporary extension, another 2-year reprieve, a permanent pathway to citizenship so that dreamers can finally stop living in fear and be given the opportunity to fully contribute to the country they're proud to call home. 14 years is a long time to wait. Congress has the power to end this uncertainty, and it's time to use it. Thank you so much, and God bless.
Thank you, Jaime. Now let's hear from DACA recipient Angel Morales.
I am here with you today to tell you about how DACA changed my life. I love this country, even though I could say the feeling isn't always the same. At an early age, I understood my presence here wasn't always welcome, but I never let that stop me. When I was in high school, I wasn't sure college was even an option for me, but an athletic scholarship opened doors of higher education at Adelphi. And then 4 years later, the fear I kept at bay for years finally caught up. I had a degree and no idea what to do next, because without papers, a diploma doesn't open doors to career paths the way it's supposed to. Then in 2012, DACA was created, and I was finally able to cross that threshold. I discovered my calling to be a teacher, so I continued to study while working to pay for tuition to pursue a career in education as an educator. In 2023, I walked into my first New York City public school classroom in the Bronx. It was a Title I school. And if you aren't familiar with the Title I schools, it's where kids need someone to show up for them the most. And that's what I did. I showed up every single day, and in the process, built a career, a family, and a community. All of this was possible thanks to DACA. Then about a month ago, my DACA lapsed. This June 15th marks 14 years since that program came into existence. I have been here for every single one of them. My renewal has been pending for 4 months now. For 14 years, I always renewed ahead of time. I gladly and gratefully followed every rule asked of me, because doing so meant I was protected and I could contribute fully to this country. With now my status lapsed, I had no time to say goodbye to my students. I worried that they would think I had stopped showing up for them, but instead they showed up for me. As they are heading into the summer break without their teacher to finish the year with them, they send me these letters. I miss my students as much as they miss me. I miss giving back to my community and my students. And this is what I want people to understand. I am not just losing my job. This lapse is removing teachers from classrooms, nurses from hospitals, and our community suffering from the consequences. My biggest fear is that I won't get the chance to say goodbye to 200 of my elementary school students. That's why I stand before you today to ask the government to stop the attacks on DACA and keep their end of the deal, which is to process my paperwork and renew my DACA. I also call on Congress to pass a permanent solution, one that ends the limbo for myself and more than 500,000 people that have met the requirements, followed the rules, and paid the fees, but live in constant fears of doors permanently shutting them out of their lives, their dreams, their jobs, and their contribution to their communities and this country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Angel, for that powerful testimony. Now let's welcome our DACA recipient, Elsa Sanchez.
Hi, thank you everyone for being here. I'm a DACA recipient in Atlanta, Georgia, raised in Atlanta. Came to the US when I was 4. I came to be a DACA in 2012, and my professional career opened up. Currently, I'm raising a daughter who is 19 years old, just finished her first year in college. My DACA also lapsed. I was 6 months waiting, 2 months with unpaid leave, and that money for the tuition went towards my bills, my rent, everything. And so because of this lapse, I was able to stop. It stopped my dream, but also my daughter's. Thank you so much for listening to all of our stories today. We ask for protection, we ask for our renewals to be processed on time, and also for a pathway to citizenship that we deserve. Thank you guys.
The renewals must be processed immediately. And let's now listen to and welcome our DACA recipient Eunice Miranda.
Hi guys, I'm from Georgia and I'm actually a small business owner there. Next month we will be celebrating our 6 years of having a small business, And I came here at the age of 3, so I don't remember much about Mexico, where I came from. I was raised in Ringgold, Georgia, a very small town. And I worry with all the delays and stuff that after November, I don't know how running my business is going to look like without having another renewal in mind. So I asked Congress to just, fix these delays so that way we don't have to live in fear and we have that protection. But again, thank you guys for giving us the opportunity to speak and to share this with everybody. So we appreciate you and thank you for listening to me.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now, thank you for your courage. And thank you for your commitment to our nation. And thank you for what you do for our communities. We're deeply appreciative and we're deeply committed to this cause after 14 years and so many delays for the renewals that must stop. Thank you all. Any questions? No questions? En español, ¿alguna pregunta? ¿No tienen pregunta?
¿Cuál es el mensaje que usted le manda a todos esos jóvenes que no están acá, pero que quizás los están viendo y todavía no se le han renovado el DACA?
Que estamos luchando diariamente, el Cáucaso hispano está luchando para asegurar que vamos a regularizar su estatus, que puedan de nuevo formalizar el DACA, el estatus de DACA que ellos tienen que ya no existe, que por mucho tiempo ya el gobierno no ha podido proveerle a ellos la habilidad de renovarlo y nosotros estamos aquí para luchar y nuestro compromiso es que en una mayoría demócrata este asunto sea resuelto inmediatamente y que presentemos una resolución para este impasse, este problema, que pone naturalmente a estos jóvenes en una situación muy precaria. Por eso estamos aquí, en víspera del aniversario después de 14 años, que es la semana que viene, a decir que estamos con ellos.
Una pregunta para Ángel Morales. No sé si podría leernos una de las cartas que le han dado sus estudiantes.
Sí, Ángel, ven.
Ángel.
Aquí dice, señor Ortega, eres el mejor favorito. Yo cuando veo que me pongas feliz porque me has ayudado a aprender muchos deportes. Me gusta mucho tu clase. Muchas gracias, te extraño.
¿Cuántos años tiene su estudiante?
Bueno, este es en el 3er grado. Yo soy maestro de la educación física, entonces yo enseño desde los 3 años hasta los 11. Entonces tengo casi toda la escuela.
Gracias.
De nada.
Una última pregunta. Last question.
Here?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Jackie Dennis with Notice. So as you guys have mentioned, we've seen DACA recipients with active status and whose status has lapsed in detention and some who have been deported. How can you assure DACA recipients and dreamers that these protections still exist?
Well, we know legally they exist. However, the government has, as I said earlier, deported a significant number of them. In fact, 86 of them have been deported.